First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yehoshai Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Yahweh is who this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is who this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Bahashem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Quadash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. Also, to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. In today's video, I wanted to go into Matthew, the 24th chapter. Okay, and the reason why is I was looking at, the news on Google, and all you see is a bunch of war talk. Okay, and it speaks about that in Matthew, the 24th chapter. And I'll start at verse 6. I'll start at verse 3, just to go into it. It says, "And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many." Right, that's going into these false prophets out here. Okay, the Roman Catholic Church, which in the scriptures it is talked about as the false prophet. Okay, that has deceived the masses, okay, by numbers, thinking that, the name of the Messiah is Jesus and that his complexion is, blonde hair, blue eye, pale skin, thinking that he's coming to save everybody, thinking that, the Mary was a virgin and she was impregnated by the Holy Spirit, thinking that the Trinity, that the Father and the Son are one is true. Thinking in heaven and hell, that's the false prophet, because every single point I just hit there is not true. Okay, and I can back it up by the scriptures. So it says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." Right, that's what we're seeing right now, is wars and rumors of wars. Okay, the whole thing with Iran, okay, in Israel and America. Okay, we understand that this is, what's written in Ezekiel chapter 38 with Gog and Magog, okay, lining up with Iran to attack Israel. We understand how it's all playing out, but this is not the end yet. Okay, because we still need the chip to be made mandatory. So it says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places." Okay, and that's what we see. Okay, is civil war. We see countries coming against each other. Okay, we see NATO and EU coming against America, as is spoken about in Revelation, the 17th chapter, when it talks about how the beast shall hate the whore and shall burn her with fire. Okay, the beast going into NATO and EU is going to come against the whore, America, when they were once allies. Right, it talks about that. I believe it's in Habakkuk. Talks about they that were at peace with thee, have deceived thee, have laid a wound under thee. Right? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee to thy border. Right? So the allies of America are going to come against this place, and we're seeing it. Okay, we're seeing it. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines." Okay, and that's one that is on the way, that is really going to get people riled up, is going to really get people to start acting crazy. Because once, the food and the water is lacking, and it's not readily accessible, you can't go to a McDonald's and get a McChicken and get a Sprite. Once that goes away, you're going to see how these people do whatever they have to do in order to survive. Okay, we're going to see straight beasts out here because they have no wisdom. Right? The scriptures talk about that, how, he that wisdom covered. This is a scripture that goes with it. I can't find it, but it goes into how he that departs from wisdom shall remain in the congregation of the dead. It also talks about how wisdom hath killed her beasts. So we don't got wisdom, man. You're essentially a beast, an animal. Okay, no control. And famine is what's going to bring that out. It says pestilences, right? So going into your diseases, which in 2020, we got a little glimpse of what they got cooked up in those CDC labs. Okay, The CDC has damn near every single virus, every single, disease that there is on the planet, right? They have it in test tubes, and it's been shown that they can bioengineer new diseases. Okay, they can make diseases even stronger. Okay, and that's what we saw in 2020. So just wait when the next one comes, as Bill Gates said, in that interview with his wife. Bill Gates said, just wait for the next one. Or he said the next one is really going to get their attention. Okay, he literally said that. So that's what they call, revelation of the method. Okay, they put it right in front of your face, let you know what's coming, so that when it happens, they're like, oh, we told you, right? Since you didn't get ready, that's on you. That's how they look at it. Hey, since we didn't get ready, since you didn't get ready and we told you, hey, that's on your head. So, hey, where did we hear this originally? The scriptures. So that's why it says that, if it were possible, the elect they shall deceive. Let's get that, since I'm butchering it so bad. It's in Matthew 24. It says, for this shall rise false Mashiachs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Right? So the elect aren't going to be deceived, aren't going to be, distracted from what's going on. Okay, Lord willing, I'm a part of that number. We're going to be able to see through all of it, because we got the scriptures. It says, in earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginnings of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Right? So persecution. Okay, there's going to be a time where reading these words, how I'm reading them, is going to be illegal. It's going to be considered treason, sedition. Okay? And we will be hunted for just speaking these words, because these words are life. Okay, these words wake up the spirit of the elect. And once that happens, there is no, convincing the elect to take the chip. And that's what, these elites fear, is that the elect are going to be sealed. Because the elect will not take the chip. So it says, and then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Right? And that's what we're seeing, is how iniquity, which means sin upon sin, wickedness. Because wickedness is growing, people don't got that love no more. They don't got that camaraderie. They don't got that, that affection. Everybody is cold, selfish, doing their own thing. And it's only going to get worse, to the point where, your friend, your family is going to backstab you. But it says, but he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. And that's what it's all about. This is an endurance game. This is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And there's a difference between marathon runners and sprint runners. They train differently. The sprint runner is trying to go all out, for 10 seconds. But the marathon runner is trying to go paced. He's trying to pace himself for, however long, 5 days. So, symbolically, somebody that's treating this as a sprint is somebody that's really on fire, really, really, really on fire, but guess what? They burn out. They do too much, and they can't keep that pace. So, you got to find your pace. You got to find what works for you, and just do that. The Spirit will tell you what works for you. And every single brother is different. So, it says, in this gospel the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Right? And that's what you're seeing right now, is that the word is going out. Okay, not this so-called Christianity, Catholicism. That's been around for so long, and the end hasn't came yet. That's how you know it's not true. But as soon as the true gospel comes out, which the world refers to the prophets as the Hebrew Israelites, now is when you see all these things really start popping off. What a coincidence. And here it is, all these prophecies that these men are going into are happening. So make that make sense. But it says, and when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Right? He was referring to 70 AD, okay, that Daniel wrote about in, I believe, the 9th chapter. It says, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to his clothes. Right? And that was because they had to flee. Okay, the Romans, they attacked the temple, okay, 70 AD, and they had to flee. It says, but pray ye that your flight, and also one thing about this chapter is it jumps from, 70 AD to the future, okay? It is jumping around in timelines. For example, when it says here, but pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Right, so going into the time of Jacob's trouble, okay, it's going to be the time like never before seen. So bad that he said, hey, pray, that is, it doesn't happen on the Sabbath or in the winter, right? Because, hey, there are restrictions for both those events. So it says, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days should be shortened. Right? If we let these Edomites, keep going with their plan, they will self-annihilate. Okay, they will get rid of everyone because their nature is to live by the sword. And once, the other nations are taken out by the sword, they will take themselves out with the sword. That's how these devils operate. It says, then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is a Mashiach, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Mashiachs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told thee before. Wherefore, if they say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is not in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Right? So, hey, this is going to be a worldwide event. This is not going to be something as, oh, is he here yet? No, like the whole world is going to know that, his return. It says, for whatsoever the carcasses there where the eagles be gathered together, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. Right? The stars falling from heaven are symbolic for the missiles, and the heavens shaken by the nuclear destruction. It says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Right? Yahushua coming back to save the elect. It says, and I'm going to jump down. I'll keep reading. It says, now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. And that's why, us brothers are going so hard lately. We're going even harder as the end approaches because these things are near. Okay, there is no just coincidence or just, something light with what we're seeing with Iran. No, this is it, man. We're seeing the World War III developments. So it says, verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Right? So, hey, people are going to be distracted. People are going to be out here, hey, living it up, partying, hey, committing adultery, sex. That's what we see in the world right now. So, it says, then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come. Right, and the two women being there working and one being taken shows you the Lord's not coming for everybody, only the elect. It says, "But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing." All right, so this is about doing, man. As it says, you can't just be a hearer, you got to be a doer. So apply the scriptures. And sometimes it's not easy. It's a process of experience. But, as you apply, as you mess up, you realize the consequences of messing up. You realize, why the Lord has specific laws. Why he said this. And unfortunately, the only way to learn really is to get burnt. We're a hard-headed, stiff-necked, rebellious people, so the Lord burns us. He puts us in that fire to get rid of those impurities. So it says, "Who then?" Or it says, "Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, My Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Right, so destruction is going to come upon you people, that take the Lord's mercy for granted. So that was Matthew chapter 24. Hopefully that was edifying. Without to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Kakwadash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to your elect. Shalom.